Welcome to the FixedOps Friday Show, where we bring you high-quality guests speaking about how to take your FixedOps department to the next level. This Car Guy Coffee production is brought to you by FixedOps Digital, powered by Trade Pending. Let's brew!
What's up, everyone? What's going on, solutionaries? All you car guys and car gals out there watching the show right now, thank you for joining us. We are excited. I have the one, the only, Owen Moon. He's in the building, and we are excited to bring you two amazing people that have a little bit of a source when it comes to calls. What's up, Owen?
I see what you did there. Fred. Good to be here, man. Another great FixedOps Friday. I can't believe we're into May. Wow, this year's flying. Don't even have any real conferences. I guess I got a couple conferences coming up, but yeah, the spring conference season is a little lighter than normal. So it's interesting as we're heading into summer here.
Yeah, it's a little different. I think we all got used to the digital dealer that was going on every spring, right? And that didn't really happen the way that it normally happens. So I think that kind of changed the projection of where people were going to do this spring, which I'll be honest, I needed a little bit of a break.
I just booked all my stuff to go into a SodaCon. So I'm actually excited to get out to Baltimore in a couple of weeks, see how that's grown over the last couple of years. I was there the first year in Philadelphia, and then I had some things going on last year that I wasn't able to make it. But good thing that SodaCon moved to the spring. I don't know if they were in the fall before, I think, and they moved to the spring. There's a lot of conferences in the fall, but not as many in the spring. So I feel like their attendance is up because of that. Obviously, they're growing that conference as well. But no, I'm excited to get out and see some people. But yeah, midway through the year, I think there's a lot of things happening. I'm excited to talk to these fine folks and find out how their year has been shaken out, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You're right. It is a light conference season for once, but at the same time, it's much needed. And I think Asodu, they moved their spot a little bit earlier, which was perfect. I think it was needed. And yeah, their conference, not only is it a good idea to move it, but to your point, it's a growing conference. Everybody, it's the third year now. I'm excited. I'm actually not going to be there, Owen. I apologize. I wish I was there. I'm just busy. I'm going to be at some dealerships. I have work to do.
That's good. Got real work, right? The real grind.
That's the fun work, the stuff that I love to do as a solutionary, brother. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, I'm excited about today's show. We've had this set up. These are two people that I've actually had some good conversations with in the past, and we're still continuing that conversation. But to have them on the show to talk a little bit more about what they're doing got me excited. So I'm so glad that you were able to connect with them and get them on the show, Owen. Perfect timing for this. I'm pumped up. I'm excited about today. So you ready to get them on here?
Let's go.
Let's do it. For one, I always do ladies first, so we got to bring her up. This is somebody that I've met over at conferences over the years, and she has always brought a great energy with her. So I'm excited to bring her on the screen because I know she's going to bring that same energy because that smile she has is contagious, right? So let's bring her on. The one, the only, Gina.
Yeah.
That's right. How are you?
Gary, I'm great. Thank you guys so much. I'm pumped. It's my first ever podcast, so let's bring it.
What? I always love being people's first because when it comes to these shows, we make it easy on people and we're going to make it fun on you. So let's get ready to bring the second person on. This person is an amazing solutionary out there doing big things also. He's got a really unique name. I'm excited to even say it. It's Mr. Pogo Parr. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys?
There we go.
Awesome. Bringing the party, huh?
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, it's always a party here on FixedOps Friday because it's Friday, right? And on Fridays, we always like to have a little bit of extra fun. I'm drinking on a coffee, but if you're out there and you have a little extra inside there, it's okay too. It's Friday. Let's have fun. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, just not on the East Coast yet, but soon enough, right? So let's have some fun today. Awesome. Thank you both coming on. CallSource. What a great company. What a great idea. I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that. This is FixedOps, so let's just talk about how that all goes together. So I'm going to start. I did kick off with ladies first, but I'm going to start with Pogo. Pogo, tell everybody a little bit more about you, your business, and why you are excited about being on the show today.
Awesome. This is great. Well, first of all, thank you, Fred. Thank you, Owen, for having us. This is really cool to be here. Fred, I saw your show a couple of months ago, and I reached out to Gina. I was like, dude, we got to hook up with Fred and Owen. And so it's nice. I've known Owen for some time. It's nice to connect, Fred, and thanks for having us. And Pogo Parr, been in the automotive industry, oh my gosh, for well over 20 years now. And I was fortunate enough to be invited in and started on the vendor side and have been on the vendor side the entire time. Learned the business selling for an old school business called Trader Publishing that had the Automart and Auto Mikados and then the Auto Trader magazines. And so
Oh yeah.
we're in there. Fred, probably well before your time, man. You were playing
I just look young. I promise.
you pick those up. And so when I was over there for many years building that organization, we were always challenged to find out the value of a paid shopper versus a free shopper, because we got into the free distribution. So I got in touch with CallSource many years ago because I was interested in recording the calls from the paid pub to the free pub and learned that both shoppers were created equal by recording the calls. And it was really interesting. And that's really where I really gained a huge passion for automotive. I was fortunate enough after the Cox Auto Trader journey to join CallSource. And we just built a great organization where we were focused on call tracking, right? And then we got into the dynamic number replacement business, a lot of deep integrations with the top performing CRMs. And then we took a little bit of turn as we tried to grow the business. And we really learned that a lot of the dealers did not have time to return calls or make outbound calls. And we had this service called Deal Saver. What Deal Saver did is we identified a missed opportunity that came into the dealership. And we would send that opportunity to a dealer within 5 minutes. And a missed opportunity was a sales opportunity coming into the store that didn't convert into an appointment. And then deeper research we learned, and working with our key automotive partners, we learned that when that alert went to a managed call center and it was returned within 5 minutes, they sold 10% more cars
Bingo.
than the alerts going to the dealers that didn't have time to return the calls. And so that was a real eye-opener for us. And I was sitting on a call with some of my other partners, and I said, hey, guys, with what we're seeing in the marketplace and the test we had with one of the largest dealer groups in the world, we said, I think we should start a call center. And reluctantly, both of the partners on the call said, hey, Pogo, I think it's a great idea. When I say reluctantly, when I heard that, I was like, no. And so that was our start of the call center business. And we had a large sales organization with some really smart people. We sold that business to Call Review about 2 years ago. And one of the leaders of CallSource was Kelly Kay, who's over at Call Review now. And those guys are doing great things over there. And Kelly said, dude, you're missing the boat, man. The service is the biggest opportunity for dealers and where they're missing the boat the most due to the fact of the amount of calls they get. When we sold that business, Gina came on board with us over here. So all we're doing now, and everything you said about Gina is so true. She is one of the most awesome people that I've had the pleasure to work with. And the grit and grind that she has for her dealers and for this company is unmatched. So the service she provides back to the marketplace is incredible. So Gina, as they introduce you, you are one of a kind, and so stoked you're here. But to make it real quick here, to shorten the story, so we made a big turn when we sold the business, and we said our company now is only going to be focused for the service fixed ops department, and we're going to help the service departments create customer advocacy, right? A customer advocate is somebody who's going to maintain doing business at that particular location for time in and time out. They will not be swayed by coupons or any other variables that may sway them due to the relationship and the trust and credibility that dealers build. And we basically do that in multiple ways. We first do it by taking the inbound call, where we take that call within 20 seconds. Our average call lasts about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But the great thing about it is we're setting on bookable appointments, 92% appointment rate. So we also have a large outbound focus because, again, we're really focused on creating advocacy for that dealer, long-term customers for the long haul. We're also in the midst of creating a couple of key partnerships within the industry that's going to bring even more value back to our company, but most important, back to our dealers and our dealers' customers. So that's the journey we've been on the last 2.5 years. Wow. And luckily, Gina's heading the team here on the sales side and helping us come up with the right services at the right time to help the dealers that need the most help.
Owen, I know you got something on that. That I know I do. I got lots of stuff that I can unpack. What you just said there is beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff there to unpack, and obviously it's like any goods. I don't know if I'd say CallSource, obviously a startup, but almost like a re-emphasis on a different journey. There's always going to be those timelines and those landmarks that you see through that. And you look back and you're like, oh, I remember that first 30 days. I remember that first 9 months. Gina, obviously we knew each other when you were over at Call Review. And then I remember when you called me and said you were moving over to CallSource and you're excited, but didn't really know what that was all going to entail. Tell us a little bit about maybe that journey and then what you've learned in the last couple of years as you've made that switch.
Yeah, so I'm gonna back up Pogo's mention of Kelly K. Anybody that has used Call Review as a solution or any type of tracking program, the insights are very clear. The results are very clear that the service department needs a lot of love. Needs a lot of love. And I got real passionate. I've always been passionate about BDC, customer engagement, employee engagement and appreciation, and profit. So there's just no denying that. So those three things are all encompassed in what we do, and really the foundation of why I chose to come to CallSource and to ride this out, because we are truly making an impact just by simply making customer advocates, connecting with dealers, and helping them move the needle in so many different ways. There's gaps that are identified in terms of just connecting the call, servicing a customer, fulfilling the need, the human engagement. There's so many levels to what it's like when you're calling into a dealership and what your expectation as a consumer is versus what you're getting. Sometimes when you got to make multiple calls back in, what does that look like? How frustrated can you get? And do you want to just throw your phone or drive to a different dealership? So what we're trying to do and what we are doing, and a lot of the dealers who are with us will agree that it's a very significant impact and it's very timely. And I think that's why I'm here. So my journey really just came from, hey, here's the problem. Let's fix it. Let's fix the problem. And why not do it with a company that has 30 years of backing, of understanding, of assessing over 5 billion calls, right? And proof is in the pudding. And that's what it's all about for me. So
that's
no
awesome.
way to not be passionate.
I know, right? It's funny you say that, because I know like some things that have happened since COVID and just even in the last, let's say 4 years, like just from 2020 on, there's been a lot of things that we've exposed in the industry. And I think one of the things that got exposed pretty early was some of our personnel issues. So there's been a lot of companies that have popped up the last 4 years that are helping dealers solve that, whether it's service BDC call centers that are outsourced. Obviously, you have technology out there that are doing like AI scheduling and things like that. There's just, I can name two hands probably, companies that weren't around 4 years ago that are now here. Not this, obviously you guys weren't a new company, but there's a lot of companies that are popping up that are doing service BDC because dealerships need this. They know that they can't always do everything internally and do it well. But I know that's also a big concern. And Fred, maybe you hear this when you're out training stuff. How do you guys overcome some of that concern about, I don't want an outsourced company to handle my customers or to be that front-facing person? Are you guys finding that is a concern of dealers even today, even though they are short-staffed?
I totally see that everywhere. That's been a problem before, way back in the day. I think always outsourcing has always been a scary thing because we believe, and it's tough to put faith in people you don't get to see, and they don't see your community. They don't know your people, right? That's how we feel, at least, right? Like, I don't know. So they struggle with that, but they also know it is necessary in a lot of cases. If anywhere it's more necessary is in the service department, right? Making sure that because there is a lot of calls to be fielded. And the thing about those calls is that there's always so many problems. So the training on that has to be very high. It's very difficult because it's always a different issue. These cars, they all have different parts that go wrong with it, right? And there's different customers with different personalities. And if it's somebody who doesn't have good communication between like the purchase of the car, like we've talked about on the show before, and knowing, like, you call and say, hey, I got a warranty. I don't know if you do, and they should, and stuff like that. That stuff can really break down. So it's a very touchy subject, BDCs. It's a very touchy subject talking to customers on the phone. It's very hard. Everywhere, no matter whether it's in BDC for the service department or BDC for sales department, It's tough. It's a
It
tough
is.
gig. It's a really tough. Yeah.
It is. And I agree with both of you. Outsourcing your BDC is like, really? And I would be challenged with it if I was sitting in the GM seat. However, I do think the problem after my studying and learning fixed ops a lot more than I did over the last couple of years, really diving in, the problem is bigger than that concern.
Amen.
So it honestly is. It's been really cool being on this side full time since I was basically on the other side the majority of my time. And when I'm meeting with really smart fixed op directors, they really get it, right? And from time to time, they will simply say, just look, man, the GM gets everything, but he doesn't get how complicated it is to handle the phone calls.
Yeah.
And so when we started this business, I was like, man, we're going to be Google. We're going to just pass. We're going to be a pass along business. And what I meant by that, so I diligently, because we had 12 reps, 5,000, a bunch of dealers, I said, I'm going to simply outsource the BDC. And we tried several different markets. We tried overseas and we also tried in the US. And unfortunately, they could not meet our expectations. The other challenge with the company when we started it was we went from a pretty cool tech company doing pretty cool stuff, deep integrations, a lot of the data analysis that looked really cool in reporting. So we went from this really cool tech business to this, oh my God, this human people powered business that doesn't have a lot of cool functionality to it, which didn't make us feel real good. But we knew we didn't want a boiler room call center. Right. We were pretty dead focused on that. And then we had one of our largest customers call us. And I'm going to just do name dropping here. And I hope everything's cool. It was a large dealer group of ours called Indigo Automotive. And they had a lot of Highline stores, including the Rolls-Royce brand. And we had our key contact call us and they said, hey, man, I want you to take over our calls. I said, man, I'd be happy to take over your service calls. He said, no, I want you to take over our first call. And I said, uh-oh. And it really made us understand and study customer service and customer advocacy. And
Amen.
we spent most of our time studying Horst Schultz, who's the co-founder of Ritz-Carlton. And he's the one that really came out with good, bad, and customer advocacy. The only customer that can't be swayed is the customer advocate. And when we started this business, like it's for us, it's more than fulfilling the gap. It's providing the utmost service to that customer to create advocacy. And so I would be hesitant to third party it. But if I'm looking at the data, the average dealer is going to connect calls on the service department under 80%. So our connectivity rate, our SLA back to a dealer is 96%. And that 96% is answered within 30 seconds on average. Last month, we took over 100,000 inbound calls and set over 50,000 appointments. We made over 27,000 outbound calls and had a connection rate at 36%. Wow. So I would be hesitant if I was sitting in the GM spot, but I think if you seek and find the right vendor who really cares about their customer, I think the value is going to outweigh the concern.
Amen. I couldn't agree any more, Pogo. It's also a numbers thing. You got to take feelings and all that stuff out the way and actually look at data. And when you look at real data, it shows that if my customers, whether they're talked to by somebody out the country or anyone that's not from here, if my customers are being communicated with and being understood, then they're going to do business with me.
That's right. That's right.
That's everything.
I want to add one more thing, though, for the benefit of the dealer and that general manager who's sitting back trying to solve this complicated problem. Even though it's a very simple problem, it comes with a lot of complications. The reason I said I was leery or concerned about my other partner saying, let's do it, it is freaking hard to manage a call center. It is a pain in the butt and takes a lot of attention to detail 15 hours a day. Yeah. But now, let's just say a third of the dealers still have advisors answering the calls. That's about the number. So a third have internal, small percentage are using full-time AI. The other piece is subbing out. Let's just say we have 7,000 dealers answering their calls with advisors. I can assure you most of the management from the manager is about taking calls and returning voice messages. Imagine if you take that KPI out of there and now your KPI is what was your upsell rate, right? Has your RO increased? Did you get back with status checks on time? Imagine the employee retention and the opportunity financially, both for the dealer and for the advisors, if they can focus on doing what they should be doing, which is building rapport, credibility, fixing the things on the cars that need to be fixed, and actually selling services that should be completed versus managing to phone calls and voicemails. When you take that large variable out of the equation, nothing happens but good things if you have a good manager.
The ripple effect.
Yes, 100%. But it's amazing you say that, because if you look at service, it's really not that complicated, right? It's MPI every time. It's additional recommended services, and it's performing those services. But it's all the little things in the middle of those three things that cause the breakdowns. And to your point, if an advisor can just work on those three areas, they will all make a ton of money. And the best thing is the customer leaves with a safe vehicle, with a vehicle that's up to date on their services. But where a breakdown happens is the guy says, man, I didn't have a chance to go through this with the customer because I've been answering phones all day with status updates, because that's what the majority is. So yeah, it's all, sometimes it's just reducing it down to the ridiculous and saying, hey, what is it that I need to focus on? And then trying to remove some of those other distractions that are out there. And it's easier said that it's for sitting here. It's easy to talk about. It's harder when you're in the trenches. It's at least if you know the problem, you can start to identify it and then work towards a solution. I think that's half the battle.
It sounds like it's just most dealers are walking over dollars to pick up pennies, right? And then that's the idea, even when it comes to their process and how they're dealing with stuff. They're looking at such small stuff that doesn't really matter when they could do something big and allow their guys to do the small stuff. But they can't get the small stuff done when they have to do this major thing is stay communicative with your people. Your people need to be talked to. They need to be return phone calls. They need to have return messages. They need to feel like they actually are important to them. And that's
need to feel heard.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time. My customers, they say they actually, on a CSI survey, on a Google review, I never feel heard when I go there. They don't get the fulfillment that they're seeking. And that's been the human component of what we do and how we manage our operation. That's the difference.
I agree with you, Gina. And you said that so right. And that's right on time. And I want everyone to hear that. 90% of the issues that you have with customers, if you just actually take the call and talk to them and listen and just be quiet and listen to them and let them tell you how they feel, that solves 90% of the issues. That does. They just feel better. They're already like, thank you for listening. I'm 20 plus years inside dealerships, and I realized that about 5 years in, quit arguing with the customer, just listen to them.
Yeah, but here's the other part of it, though. I'm going to cut you off right there, because one of the biggest things that we've found that solidifies the customer, makes them feel heard. We hear it all the time. Your customers don't think about you half as much as you think about them, right? So the outbound part of what we do is so critical. And we've got packages that are tailored specifically to hit dealers' goals, to focus on areas and their objectives, to focus in areas that need improvement, where they see low-hanging fruit and they just don't have the capacity to make this outbound connection. And we do it. And again, our agents are highly skilled. This is what we do. This is how we breed them. We know what's the messaging, what's the sales psychology behind making a connection with the customer, making them feel heard, making them feel special, understanding, fulfilling their need. And more than anything, making an extension of the dealership we are the extension of the dealership, but ultimately making an extension of service to the service guest outside of the dealership to bring them in. That is something that everyone is lacking, because frankly, no one likes to do outbound.
That's truth. And no one likes to do outbounds for whatever reason. It's like you said, they want the low-hanging fruit. And there's plenty of low-hanging fruit. That's the problem. The problem, though, is as an owner, you're like, I'm letting sand slip between my fingers. I have so much opportunity that's just going to other places, that if we just got a little bit more efficient in communicating, man, could we change
Exactly.
it, right? Could we
And
be,
to that point, again, I don't mean to cut you off, but I get real excited when we
I
start.
want you to keep cutting me off, Gina. Please
I
do.
do,
Cut us
man.
off.
I get really excited about this
Come
because
on, Gina.
the difference, because you're right. It's first making the first connection with the customer, answering their inbound call, fulfilling their need, anticipating it, following through, right? It's also reaching out to them when they want to be invited back. Okay, that's the outbound piece. But the other side of it is, man, I feel like we did a good job for you. Better yet, do you think we did a good job for you? Who else can you tell about how awesome we are? Be a fan. Tell everybody to come and check us out. Or better yet, what are your thoughts? Your thoughts are important to us. We want to be best in class. We want to win it all. We want to be the number one dealer in this area. You can help us get there. Are we doing the right things to get there? What do we have to do differently?
And Gina, I think we have some proof in that pudding where we've had a couple of opportunities with Porsche and other stores where we've actually changed the JD Power or Mimic scoring due to calling the customer, identifying if his service was good or bad. Once somebody verbally commits to you that the service was good, right? That's how customer advocates are created. And when people commit to you that they enjoyed the service, they don't mind helping you with completing the survey, showing their satisfaction level. So when customers are heard and their results have been good, they're more than happy to share that in other places. And we've proven that with a lot of dealers with significantly changing their ranking with CSI, with hearing out the customer, fixing a problem. If there was no problem, letting them know that we thank them for their business and if they could help us by completing the survey. And we see significant amount of surveys, more being completed and at a much higher rate.
Yeah, most of the reviews that I see these days that are low are because of service. So it's definitely causing issues that's long lasting, right? It's not just, oh, I had an issue with this customer on the lot, but then they go tell the world through Google, and next thing everybody knows about the experience. One thing I want to touch on, Gina, you mentioned stuff about outbound. I do a lot of 20 group trainings, and I always ask the dealers during it, like, who has a service BDC? And it used to be probably 2 out of 20 would raise their hand. Now we've got, the last time I think I did it, it was probably 8 out of 20, maybe 9 out of 20. So we're definitely seeing more people investing in that. But then it's funny because I've had a couple of dealers come up to me and say, hey, I do have a service BDC, but we haven't done any outbound yet because we're so busy fielding inbound. So question for you guys, obviously if outbound is definitely an opportunity, what are you guys seeing working? Like what has been more, maybe your successful, without giving the secret sauce and all that, like what areas of the business are you seeing that are really, you can influence a lot with outbound from your guys' vantage point with the dealers you work with and things like that? Any insight on that?
Pogo, you want to take that one or do you want me to take
Go
that
ahead,
one?
Gina. Go ahead, Gina.
You're on fire, girl.
Well, I will tell you. I will tell you that outside of like everybody expects you to say declines, recalls, right? But what we do unique, one of the ways that we're unique is we do a life cycle package. So we have multiple campaigns running at the same time, thousands of phone calls, because your guests want to know when they buy their car, they're more excited about pulling off with their new car. They don't know what they have to do to start their service relationship with you. So there's an outbound call for that. Takes a second, right? Introduce them to the service protocol. Call on the sold not service. We've got a whole function of different stages of the life cycle of ownership, the life cycle of the customer retention. Nobody wants to lose a service customer. That's big bucks to the dealership. So what we do is we came up with a strategy, and I'll tell you, we're constantly working it. We learn some every time we do them. We're like, oh, we should do this. Oh, what should we do different this way? How can we help in this way? So we're very nimble. And I think that has allowed us to build a program that can really turn some wheels in the right direction from an outbound perspective, 100%.
Nice. I like that.
That's a great answer. And like we said a little bit ago, nobody likes doing outbound. So if you understand
I didn't say that, you said that.
Okay. People in general don't like to do outbound, right? But at the end of the day, there's so much gold in those hills, and we just got to dig for those. It's a little bit more work, but there's people out there that want to do the work. There's companies out there that can help you get that work done. Like we talked about at the top of the hour, we said It's not a lot of people and a lot of dealers. Even when if I'm sitting in a GM's desk, I don't know if I want to outsource it either. But when I look at numbers and I look at statistics, I should. If I really want to grow that department and help my team feel like they have support, help my team feel like they don't have to do all the little administrative work that to them is tedious, and they're like, man, I want to take care of it, but I have so many other things I need to take care of. It's which one do I have to do today? But we could take that away. And I love what you're talking about here. I love what your company's doing. CallSource.com, folks. You see it scrolling down the bottom. Make sure you guys go check these people out.
Yeah.
I love what's going on. Pogo, I know you got something you want to drop on all that stuff too. What do you want to say to the world right now? What's that? Let's go.
Well, basically, what I was going to say for those folks that are sitting there saying I'm hesitant to outsource it, I would look at CallSource as like almost like Intel. We've already designed the box. You get to customize what's in your box, but you don't only get to customize it, you also get to manage it. Right. So that means we're on calls on a daily basis with new dealers, discovering what needs we need to have to make that customer experience better. And I think you really wrapped it up. It's look at the data, right? Look at the data. If you use a great either internal or external BDC, but look, the dealers that have an internal BDC, as all the dealers know, they are a pain in the ass to manage. In an in-house BDC isn't 1 to 2 people, because there's no way 1 to 2 people can get the amount of work done that needs to get done with both inbound and outbound. So I would say the data should dictate your decisions, right? Data and retention rates, right? If you have a lot of defection going on with the service department, even if your absorption rate looks good, it is going to start declining. Absorption rate is going to be a factor of retention and, right, who's staying with me and who's defecting. So I would say, look at the data, be optimistic, know you can create a higher RO value, a better service for your customers, and a better experience for your employees. Most service advisors aren't there to be a receptionist. They're there because they probably came up through the tech job, love the automotive space, love the fix op, promoted to fix ops, and they are still there because they have a great understanding of cars and want to help consumers get back in their car the right way. So I would say let them do that, hold them responsible for retention, higher RO count, and hold a company like CallSource or your internal team accountable for the metrics that you need.
I love that.
And also managing a local BDC at your store, right? It also takes a full-time manager. If you don't have a full-time managing your BDC, it's probably not being managed that closely. But also call outs, training, sick, vacay. Like Scott Davis is a good associate of mine, the owner of Volley, and we are on Volley because we love his platform.
It's an amazing platform.
He's cool, man. And I throw the ball around a lot with Scott, and he's like, dude, I'm telling you. And he knows the business as well as anybody. And he has a lot of dealers on his BDC agent platform. He still passionately believes every dealer should have an overflow rollover for when they can't take the calls.
I agree. You have to.
Got to have a protection, man.
If you're not doing that, you're losing customers, and they're going to go to other places because it's that type of a world, and they have to feel important.
They do. You just hit the nail on the head. Creating advocacy is trust, credibility, and making them feel they're known.
Especially.
Amen.
Amen, brother. That's what we're here to do, man. That's what we're
I love that, man. And this has been an amazing show. I really hope that you dealers out there that are even thinking about, or you're right on the fence, like, should I do this? You just pushed you over the edge. It should have. If you have any questions, or if you need a little bit of a shove, give them reach out to them at callsource.com down there. You can reach out to me at Fred at carguycoffee.com. I'll make sure I get you in touch with Gina or Pogo. And of course, you can reach out to Owen anytime. Owen's always happy to help his dealers and anybody that he knows make it to the next level too. That's what Owen's been doing for years, and he's still doing it now. I love watching what Owen's doing. So we appreciate you all so much. Is there any final words that you all have? Or Owen, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I love it. I'm noticing that more and more vendors like CallSource are coming into the space, not just call centers, but just in that side of it, where we're helping be an extension of their sales team, extension of their BDC, you're never there. It's like AI, right? They talk about, well, is AI going to replace people? I don't think that an outsourced BDC is designed to replace an internal BDC. I think it's there to complement. I think it's there to meet them at any of their needs that they might be able to do. And maybe down the road, they look and say, hey, that is a more efficient way to do it. But I think that's one thing that dealers are scared of, just from what I can tell and conversations I've had. So it's not that companies are trying to replace your people. It's trying to make you more efficient. And again, going back to the advisor, if you've got advisors answering phone calls about when is their vehicle going to be ready, things like that, you can imagine how that's going to eventually burn those people out. Let them focus on the important things, which is making money. And I think that's what a great outsourced BDC like CallSource can provide, is just that efficiency factor that a lot of dealerships don't have. And like you said, have had for years in a lot of places. But I think it's being more and more identified today. And really, to Pogo's point, the data will tell us where can we help and where can we not help. So good work. Keep it up. Obviously, I'll always be cheering for all my friends. If anybody needs anything, definitely reach out. I can help get you in touch. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Gina. What about you, Pogo? You got anything, brother?
Man, just bring it, right? Let's do it, right? Do the right thing and create long-term customer retention.
I love that. And that's exactly right. What about you, Gina? What you want to drop?
We're here for you, man. We're here. We want to take the action, take the bull by the horns, and make it happen. That's all.
That's right. I like that. That's right. Cowboy up. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Have some fun. It's what it's all about. And not only will you get a great company by just having a conversation, but you'll get some great information, worst case. And I know that today they dropped a lot of great tips. If you just take one of these things and apply, I promise you will grow. Stay consistent, my friends, and keep doing it. Folks, before we get out of here, we always do one thing. We got to drop F-bombs. These F-bombs?
Got to drop some F-bombs.
These don't offend the moms, though. These are the forgive, the focus, and the fly, all right? So there comes the dance move with it, all right, Pogo? I don't know if you
I'm in.
Do you remember?
We're going to focus, and we're going to fly together on a count of three. So everybody on a count of three, hands on your shoulders. 1, 2, 3. Forgive. Focus. Fly. And keep growing, keep growing. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for this show. This is another wonderful FixedOps Friday. I appreciate you all. Folks, if you need to get in touch with them, you see it scrolling down there. CallSource.com, where you can reach out to either Owen or I. We'll take care of y'all. You guys be blessed.